Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch. I'm sorry. Hello, my name is Harriton Watcom. Before we even start the show, we're already started the discussions right here in the studio. But before anything else, I'd like to announce that GNN, this station, is now on Sky Cable and no longer just on Destiny Cable here in Metro Manila. But you will have to plug, unplug, and plug again your Digibox on Sky Cable. It's on channel 213. No matter how high it is, it's still closer to channel 6 if you go in reverse on the left side. Nevertheless, we are now available on channel 213 on Sky Cable. Now, for more serious matters, the topic we will be discussing is the need to brand Philippines. Now, let me see. I operate, and I'm the CEO of Super Brands Marketing International. We are an award-giving body internationally. Simply put, let me try to put together the meaning of branding. I'll say it slowly so everybody can pick it up. Branding is nothing more than the consistent delivery of the brand promise. If you deliver whatever it is that you promise based on your brand, your product, and or service, you develop what you call integrity. Kung may integridad ka, that's what makes you the brand. It's not about being number one. It's not about being the biggest sales volume. It's not about popularity. It's got nothing to do with any accreditation whatsoever, except for the fact you have specific integrity because whatever you promise, you deliver. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an issue that's currently metastasizing. It's called Napoles. There's no need to qualify the word Napoles because it's been demonized by all of media. But what exactly is Napoles? Let's not forget, the issues with the 10 billion and all this money being taken from legislators, the executive, whatever, the military. Let's not forget, ang naglabas po ng impormasyon nito, hindi kasi mahal niya bayan. This Napoles woman went after her brother-in-law because he owes her 300,000, considering the billions she's supposed to have, and her daughter swimming in a bathtub full of money. The 300,000 was very important to her. Maybe that's why she's amassed so much money. The problem is the whistleblower, who's the brother-in-law, to get back at her. Don't forget, she is incarcerated not because of the billions stolen from the senators with the help of senators, congressmen, the judiciary, the Sandigan Bayan, the military. You know, we just keep going on and on. Labwabas po ito sa brother-in-law niya kasi kinagalit siya at itong ginamit niya parang bala para balikan yung sister-in-law niya. Pumutok. Lumala. What's happened? Everybody's involved. But the problem is, public opinion states in the last 40 years, alam naman po natin lahat to eh. Ang gobyerno, magnanakaw yan. Nung pa naman yan. Here in GNN, we've been saying this for the last 5, 6 years. Of course, we don't really point the dirty finger to you, and you, or whoever. But it's common knowledge, it's public opinion, that our leaders are corrupted. Now, leave that as is. Sana lang man, if these people who are mandated by the vote, no less, assuming the COMELEC's even part of this whole scam, because it is, the problem is, alam naman natin yan, at not one of them decided to come out. Alam mo, ang nakawan sa Kongreso, ganito. Ang nakawan sa Judiciary, ganito. Ang nakawan sa COMELEC, ganito. Ang nakawan sa Executive, sa DBM, ganito. No. No one had the guts or to become the statesman and come out. It took a whistleblower for the wrong reasons to pin his sister-in-law para makalabas siya sa problema niya. Now, because of this, we have a can of worms that refuse to stop oozing out the worms. You know, it's a magic can. Walang tigil. Meaning, it's not only the last 3, 4, 5 years. Let's face it, since the birth of the Republic, and I was corrected last week by our guests, this has been going on for so long. It's not because the Philippines has no money. It's because the wrong people are getting the money, not the populace, which is why we are poor and our leaders are rich. Now, let's try and tackle this issue. Branding for the country, Napoles metastasizing to what we have demonized to be the real devil. No one escapes this. No one is excused. The public, nah. The private, nah. The academe, nah. Even the church is involved. The judiciary, the Comelec. And I'm going to run out of fingers at this point. I'm going to introduce our guest to make this even more interesting. And we have a celebrated guest. You all know Archbishop Cruz, who's with us. Nako, we're going to start having sparks in the room. And the chair of LaRouch Movement, we have Butch Valdez. Thank you very much. Father, thank you for being in our show. Alam mo, sometimes I get so emotionally. Sometimes I shouldn't be on TV because I say too many things. But thank you for being here. And before anything else, 2, 3 years ago, when you went on that personal crusade, without fear, even regardless of how media portrayed you, tinira mo talaga the wetting gambling issue. Wala kang takot, lumabas ka, you brought it out. That's good. Don't you think it is mandated of our leaders who got voted by the people to come out and bring out the issues of corruption, not through this guy, Louis, who's all for the wrong reasons, sinasabi niya. And then ang dami ng whistleblowers. How many do we have now? First 10, and then 17, and now 24. 24.
Yeah.
And more are gonna come out. And of course, on the other side, those mga nirereklamo, sinasabi nila, hindi ko signature yan. Hindi ko alam yan, pero mga litrato naglalabasan. Magkakaibigan pala lahat sila. Thank you very much for your advocacy and your tapang. How's that? Maraming salamat sa taong Pilipino. What do you feel about these legislators natin, mga leaders natin, the executive, the legislative, actually, even the judiciary, kasi nagkukulang sila. How come they don't want to correct the system, which has, at this point, we are imploding. Correct me if I'm wrong. So the question is, how do we look at our legislators, the executive branch, even the judiciary, and everybody in all the line agencies, be it for the Comelec, the Constitutional Commission, etc. Can we still trust them or wala nang integridad? No more branding.
By the way, I like your reflections on the matter of branding, no? Because branding is an identity that is somehow imprinted on something. This
Yes.
thing is this thing that is branding. Now, question, how come it took a brother-in-law or something who came out simply because he was not given what he wanted? How come it took this man to bring this out and not our leaders?
Exactly.
The answer, I think, I'll be very frank with you, is because our leaders are the ones who are benefiting from the graft and corrupt practices established in our government. How would they possibly denounce something most of them benefit from? Come on.
Pluralistic, meaning all. Can you say
Not all, majority.
I would say all, but okay, majority.
So, they are part of the whole system that public service is for self-service. And it is not for public welfare, but private good. My answer is therefore that. That's why once I said, we need reformers. Come on. Come on. We need reformers in government. This kind of government, and I am practically 100 years old, no?
No, I'm catching up, Father. My hair, I'm not only losing it, it's already all screamed white. must be the politics of the country. But go ahead, please.
Yang, it has been this way long since. And
So you agree? Public opinion is, ganito talaga ito.
yes,
Matagal na.
yes,
Oh, okay.
it has in fact become inculturated, no, in the Filipino mind that this is the way it is. What can you do? For example, yung boat buying, boat selling, we take that as a matter of course. Come on.
That's true.
So that's the Filipino. So I said, if a branding is needed, I am with you. But I only want to say that this brand has something to do with the inculturation of graft and corrupt practices into our system. Endemic, and we accept it as a matter of course.
Mr. Valdez, why is it we can't seem to identify or source reformers out of 97 million or 100 million Pinoys? Wala ba sa atin isa na may, may kalooban, may tamang loob, may moralidad, may tamang values? After all, katoliko tayo. Katoliko sarado tayo. Mas lalo na sa probinsya pag umikot ka. I was just in Mass last Sunday. We all congregate, di ba? And we pray the same things week in, week out. We celebrate the Mass. Lahat ba tayo sa loob ng simbahan? Are we all sinners? Wala na bang marunong? Wala na bang Pilipino natitira?
Well,
You're with the LaRouch Movement.
Yeah.
You talk to the world in this movement. Diba? It's a worldwide movement. Are we so incompetent a people that we have lost it? We have lost all bearings of decency?
well, the way I see it also, well, I'm not as old as 100 years old like Archbishop. No?
Kaming dalawa lang. Kaming dalawa lang. We're over the hill there.
But in
But we're still
what
fighting,
I
mind
have-
you.
yes,
We're still fighting.
What I have observed no, is the level of moral decline on the part of our leaders. No? Moral decline on the part has increased by leaps and bounds over the past maybe 50 years or so, or 40 years. No? I'm not too sure about, let's say, the Marcos regime, no, because that is not a point of comparison. I'm only like many of us, was among those hopeful, no, when there was a so-called revolution.
People
And
Power
then
1,
a so-called
86.
people power. So all of us were anticipating a resurgence of morality, no? And but instead, what we saw was a continuous deterioration of such. Not only did we deteriorate in the level of morality in governance, no? We also deteriorated in competence. No? So much so that we now cannot pick out anybody from the present leadership, the present political setup, that will have these two very important qualities that a leader must have. I'm not just talking of the president. I'm talking of everybody who wants to become a leader of a segment of our society. One is intellectual competence. The level of intellectual competence, we have the actual understanding of what's going on in the
big
country
picture.
and what is
world.
going on outside the
Yes.
country that affects our country is
There's no
almost
competence.
nothing, right? And the second is the moral courage to do what is right. There are many people, even in the legislature, in the Senate, and even I suppose, in the judiciary now. They know what's going on, but do not have the moral courage to come out and say, no, I'm not going to be part of you guys. I'm not going to do this. And if I catch any one of you, I will bring it out to the public. Being silent is not enough.
You're
Being
part of the
silent, you become part of the problem because you allow these things to go on. You cannot just come out and say, I did not get my pork barrel, so I am honest. No, that's not honesty. Honesty is you stand up for the truth.
And
no?
say, mali
And
yan.
say, these are the guys that are doing that.
Correct.
no? And if you really had the kind of courage that's needed, then you show it.
Let's go on with a simulation exercise. Archbishop, Oscar Cruz, you've already been celebrated as the whistleblower against many governors in local government against the drug issue some 3-4 years ago, which is what I celebrated and mentioned when we opened the show. A simulation exercise. Why don't you take the leadership? You're part of the clergy. You have the moral ascendancy. We will assume, and correctly so, you will have the values. Why don't you take over the reins of government? A simulation.
Somebody brought that up when there was some kind of a exercise on to get rid of this government, to get rid of that government, etc., etc.
Ano, pag-usapan niyo na pala yan?
Yes. And I was asked to be part of
core group.
the management. I say no. I'm willing to help you go there. But the moment you reach your destiny, I'm out of it because I'll watch you from outside, what you do. I will not join you.
You'd rather be external audit.
Yes. So no, I'll not be part of the.
But isn't the problem the position in the system itself? Look, we all know, I think the whole country knows, which is why the president enjoys a certain popularity, that he's a good man. He's a good boy. And the mother, we praised her and celebrated her being a very close Catholic. Ironically, nothing like her son, with the RH bill raging the way it's going. Now, why is it you can't step in? Why don't you step in? Maybe we're also part of the problem because none of us are willing to step in.
Well,
Because the position is a very indecent proposal. Say no to 1 million, madali. Say no to 100 million, madali pa rin yun eh. Pare, ito 500 billion. Iyon na ito. Iisipin mo na, oh my God. Every cruise in the next 3 generations, 4 generations are gonna be in the same level as the Madrigals and the Aboitis and the Zobels. Di ba? All of a sudden, ganun na yan eh. Don't think of yourself. To hell with you. You think of 5 generations today and they're gonna be in the bathtub together with Janet Napoles swimming with 1,000-peso bills around her. You know, to think how dirty that is. No? I mean, that's really, I can't figure that out. It gives me goose pimples kasi paglabas mo nun, puro bulutong ka na sa dumi ng pera, di ba? But nevertheless,
nangyari po ganito. I said that because I don't want to be part of a power group and be contaminated with it most probably in due time.
but you would be the best
But
candidate, ah.
bottom line is the so-called separation of church and state. There are two.
Okay, agree there.
There are two versions here. The version of the Constitution of the Philippines and the version of church law.
Yes.
The Constitution says that the state should not adopt an official religion. That is the separation of church and state. But this church also has that. It says that no cleric may assume public office that implies the exercise of
Political power.
political power. And that's as clear as black and
But
white.
Father, our Pope, our new Pope, who is very aggressive and he's taken the stand, he's very active, Pope Francis, has said you are required to indulge in politics to correct the issues of the day. Now, as far as the church is concerned, the country, the Constitution, correct me if I'm wrong, but this Constitution was created under the shadow of the Catholic teaching. This is what I learned when I was growing up in school until the very day. I mean, you can't separate, as much as we try to separate it, the Constitution is based on our faith. As much as we say we're independent, I'm sorry, this Constitution is Catholic-based. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've read the Constitution, it's Catholic-based. Okay, Father.
It goes this way.
Sorry, I'm putting you in a position because I want you to admit and say, if the people did require it to fix it, maybe people should really stand up. Ikaw, Butch, tatayo ka pag sinabi natin. Bishop Cruz and I will say, Butch, here are the reins of power. We believe you have the moral integrity. You have it all na. Hindi ka magnanakaw, magtuturo ka at aayusin mo. Ito, please, ikaw naman. Obviously, hindi kaya ni Sereno. Hindi kaya ni Carpio
But ganito
Morales.
lang.
Hindi kaya ni lahat.
Let me interject.
Pinoy hindi kaya.
Sandali lang. Let me interject and help out with the bishop here. First of all, leadership must be not singular. No? It is not unitary. No?
But that's our democracy, presidential.
No, but even if you are a president, no, you don't function that way as a leader. No? There has to be a collective effort on the part of leadership. I'm not talking about the other branches of government. No? And if anybody was to take position, because it is a destiny, no, to be placed there. Even if you are a bad president, it is still your destiny to be there, right? And that's the way it happens. There has to be, if that leader were sound, no, there has to be a group of other people that will help him lead, no? Not just by himself. He is the spokesman. He is the president. He makes the decisions, final decision. But this collective leadership, no, will have to be there to advise him. No? And if he is sound in mind, no, he will choose the right people to help him do this. Now, you don't look for a Superman, no, because that person will not exist. No? First of all, what should the leader do? I am intelligent, I am good, so take me as a leader? No, that's not enough. No.
Competence.
What is my program to get all of you out of poverty? Did you ever hear of anybody talking like that? Vote for me, not because I am honest, but because this is the program I intend to implement right away from day one to get you out of poverty. No? And if you don't like this program, then don't vote for me. No? That is the commitment that is needed from a person, no, who understands. A Superman, no, does not exist. No? Might as well draw him up with the letter S here and put him in the Philippines. No? And he runs after all of these crooks and flying all over. That does not exist. The program, the ideas are what exist. And the real person that will implement that, no, for the good of the country as a whole, to get the country from where we are now to where it should be 10 years from now, no, is the kind of leadership that we need. And all of those legislators and judiciary, no, are supposed to understand what the program is. And if all the cabinet members must understand that this is the objective, this is the future of the Philippines, and that is what determines what we must do today. And yun ang goal natin. All of us work there. Anybody who cannot do that is out of government.
Gentlemen, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a short break. We figured out what's wrong already. It's Hollywood. That's what's wrong. In the movie theaters, we're watching too much of the Hulk and Fantastic Four, Superman, Spider-Man. The problem is, it's not real. We need to believe in people, and people are not infallible. Butch is right. In the private sector, when there's incompetence and there's mismanagement, people are terminated. In this government, regardless of us being the boss, it seems the cabinet members get closer and closer and tighter. Soon, they're going to have what government has, security of tenure, to our demise. But the problem remains, or I guess the question that begs to be asked, has the president failed us? You answer that question. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I know.
Hello, we're back.
But
During this break, we took a 10-minute break. I know we're coming back on in less than 1 minute, but that's called TV magic. But between that, we were discussing basically the real issues. Is it just the Philippines, or does this involve the global community? The answer within our conversations with our guests on the studio, we have Archbishop Oscar Cruz, and we have the chair of LaRouch Movement, we have Butch Valdez. The common answer was because it's the world economic direction where institutions, financial institutions particularly, have changed the whole issue. But before we discuss that, to discuss really our issues that are burning our seats, I'd like to ask Archbishop Cruz first. The very involvement of the priest that was giving, pray over to our very popular personality today, who Malacanang is covering up, di ba? Napoles. What did you think about that when you saw that on television, Father? Di ba parang, nakita ko yung pare, sabi ko, oh no, the church is involved. Sorry, go ahead.
I felt so bad. I felt so.
So pareho, our sensations are the same then.
And I say, does it take a doctoral degree on morals and ethics to know that these things are not even rational? Do you have to be holy?
Thank you very much for your very candid answer. Thank you. Thank you. Because, it's perception that the church will always protect each other. But you as a person, you've always been a freedom fighter. And there you go, it comes out. Even though you're a man of the cloth. Diniretso mo, nilabas mo. And that's exactly public opinion. If you watch all the Facebook pages, if you read all of them, talagang ganun ang ascendancy lumalabas eh.
What is wrong. Come on.
Correct. Thank you very much. Butch, let's go through your
Yes,
issue.
yes.
Father, if you're agreeable. You asked the question when we were on break, and you said, ang problema ba natin, tayo lang or hindi? Ang sabi mo sa akin, hindi. You were explaining to me the problem is not necessarily just us in the Philippines, but it could be because of the world order, the global community, and Butch jumped in, representing the LaRouche movement, because it's a global movement trying to pin down basically the issue of the Bretton Woods. You are saying that it's because of the Bretton Woods Agreement, where the merchandise or money, other than being a form of barter and trade for people who require, you need this, I need that, palit-palitan tayo. Anong nangyari? It became a merchandise and it became the source of money to generate money. That corrupted all of us, correct? Father, we agreed. Why the Bretton Woods?
Well, first of all, the Bretton Woods was initiated by a great president of the United States. His name is Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1945. And the principles behind that was a recognition that each nation must be considered sovereign. Sovereign means nobody interferes into the affairs of any other nation. Okay. Now, these sovereign nations band together, get themselves together to form an economic order. And the economic order's objective was for the upliftment of the quality of life of every single human being on the planet, and posterity. What does that mean? That is, it's not just words. No? It means that every people or every nation is responsible not only for his people, but for other human beings in the planet as well. That their development must coincide and be together with the development of others. And if you're responsible for that, it is your responsibility for the other nation to develop. It sounds like, as you said earlier, utopia. But that was a real agreement signed by 45 different nations at the
You
time.
realize, Butch,
Okay.
many economists do not agree with you.
Yes, of
I know
course.
a number that I've sat here, right here where you're sitting,
Yes.
and said that you're a cook.
Yes,
Diba?
yes.
You know, I've told you this
Yes,
with no,
I know.
no
And
distortion
I wonder
or no
who is the
prejudice to
cook
you.
now, when they had protected globalization, they had protected free market, and look where the world is now. Many economists now in the United States and Europe are demanding that the economic
financial systems.
the curriculum of all these universities on economics be thrown out the window.
You know, I can
Right.
agree with you there.
Because that which they taught us, me, my generation, and succeeding generations, has brought the world into this rut that we are in. And they, who have not forecasted anything of value, they have not forecasted anything of benefit to our country, are the ones calling other people crooks. That's all right, no? Because obviously they probably are very ashamed of themselves now. No? This is the problem. The other thing that I have said, and I was talking to a well-known economist, very well respected for the past 3 or 4 generations. I was in two-hour dialogue with him, and I said, you are saying, because he said that the problem with our country is leadership. I said, yes, I said, but he is referring to the president. I said, no, I said, the problem with our country is leadership, but leadership is not just in government. Leadership is not just in business. Leadership is also in the academe. And I said, the most dangerous are those that are in the academe because they have the capability to destroy future generations.
Well put.
And this is what's happening to us. No? We need to correct even what they had taught these present students so that these students will not teach the same to the next generation.
Father, on a global scale, since you say and agree it's a global problem, we are seeing an imminent war in Syria.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we are seeing a very dangerous man who gas his people. I've seen the photographs, the videos. It's inhuman. We have seen people blow themselves up for their beliefs. Diba? It's called the Arab Spring. We have seen the very ambitious and misguided Africans who go out and terrorize their very own people, not even just for money, diba? We are seeing in a global society the decay of humanity, diba, so to speak. Is this because of religion, like most people say? Is this because of the financial institutions that Mr. Valdez is saying? Because of the wrong theories? Or is it because of the incompetence of man, not necessarily just one person?
Now that we have gone up we have
Hindi na tayo,
no,
up na tayo
we
eh.
rose
Civilized.
we rose up the discussion, no? Frankly, compared to other countries, especially the Middle East, yes, there is the Polish thing, there is
Yes.
that is the Atipunan massacre, there is
Yes.
this Moro Islamic difficulty, but I would not yet exchange my country for any other.
Here, here.
We are not good, okay? We have leaders who are corrupt, etc., etc. But there are countries whose leaders are immoral. How can you gas people? Come on. And the Middle East as such, no? I'm sure I will stay in the Philippines till I die and keep it, then exchange it for oil exporting countries, etc., etc. What do I mean to say? Yes, we are bad, but there is still a redemption for us. And there is still a hope that we could have better leaders for us. I think I'm not losing faith in the Filipino people, that we are on the ground, so to speak. But it doesn't mean that we are the worst. I'm not happy because others are worse. No? I'm just saying that I still love this country because we are not worse as others are. And just to continue a little about what I say about money being used as merchandise, I cannot understand up to now how could my peso be worth this much now and tomorrow be worth less. It's the same peso I have. For heaven's sake, will you please tell me why?
But as Butch will say, it's called the floating exchange.
That's it. That's it. That was
And this is what impoverishes us.
Yes, we shifted from the fixed exchange rates
yes.
to the floating exchange
Right.
rate and made the devaluation of our currency easy without just by say so of the financial institutions, we're forced to devalue our currency. And what used to be, let's say, what 1 peso could buy then, 1 peso is nothing now, right? So that is the devaluation.
Hawak natin yung piso, ah.
Oo.
Hawak mo yung piso, pero lumiliit. Hindi naman lumiliit, ah. Pero yung value, lumiliit.
But the ones that control that are the ones that control the financial system, no? The world financial system, which is the floating exchange rate system. No? So who are they? They're the money lenders of the world. And how do they
Oh, no, we're
operate?
back to the Jews.
No, not the Jews. Not the
That's the
Jews.
reason Hitler went after them in the first place.
No, that's wrong. No, that's wrong. The financial institutions are not just the Jews. They are different kinds of people with they're just people. No, some are Jews, some are Europeans, some are Dutch, some are even Americans, and some are British. No? And they are in control. And they use the IMF to supervise all the central banks in the world. Our central bank is supervised by them. And when you control the money system of the world, no, it is called imperialism. No? And this is what's going on right now. They dictate whether you die or you live, no, just by controlling your money. And we have, many of our legislators are surprised when I tell them frankly, I said, have you ever brought the central bank governor to the Blue Ribbon Committee to ask him, where did our investments go? Where did you invest our reserves? And how much money did you make or lose? I said, you check. I said, you mean to say we cannot? Hello? I said, you cannot. You try.
Ladies and
Because
gentlemen,
they are above the government.
trying to understand or following us may confuse you a bit. It's all not that easy. I'm here, I'm sitting in front of the two gentlemen, and it's not all that easy to absorb. And I've already discussed this issue with Mr. Valdez. The global challenge, understanding and comprehending the world as it works in the financial system, is very challenging. However, it is important that you begin to understand exactly how things work. Now, let's go back into our issue before we reach the top of the hour, so at least we can sort of surmise or put something together.
Yeah.
Is there any hope? Of course, for the optimist, of course. Like Bishop Cruz says, forever the optimist, there has to be redemption. I believe there has to be retribution before redemption. However, where can we go? How can we have a quick fix, at least to bring it back on track?
In the Philippines, you mean?
First, in our our current situation is called Napoles. Napoles is bigger than just that woman.
Right,
Don't give
yeah.
this woman the celebratory whatever.
no.
She is not to be on
You
top
mean-
of any altar or any stage.
For-
She is the lowest of all kinds. But because she blew this whole thing up, we're not a poor country. The Philippines was never poor. We're just realizing it now. Because our money is with a relative few.
Right.
If kung hinuli natin lahat ng few, pwede ba yun? Can that be solution number one? Huluhin natin lahat na naging congressman, lahat na naging senador, lahat ng presidente, lahat ng husgado west, hulihin natin lahat. Kunin natin lahat ng pera nila, ibagsak natin. Baka mamaya trillion ng pera natin at iangat natin
Right.
yung no more poverty. And all those that we get the money from, kumbaga martial law, well, okay, since our judiciary, we cannot put them in jail, just take their money. Pwede ba? Is that a quick
As you
fix?
said earlier, and I agree with you, the whole situation is endemic. And that
Solution,
means,
quick
that
solution.
means we have a dysfunctional government now. No, dysfunctional government. At the executive level, legislative, and the judiciary. None of
Let's
these
not forget
branches-
the COMELEC.
No,
It's dysfunctional.
That's why, kasama na yun when you say executive, no, kasama na lahat yan. So if you have a dysfunctional government, what do? You as a people change government.
Oh no, elect and regret again.
I didn't say election.
Ah.
I said you as a
Bishop
people.
Cruz, our leader. No, as one of them. Not, sino pa kukunin natin? Sino yung may
hindi.
moral ascendancy? Yung mga negosyante, walang moral ascendancy.
Let us not stop at the sino. Don't stop to correct because it's the program that what's important. You know what has to be done. No?
That point of view. Meaning, identifying the objective and getting there regardless along the way.
Yes.
But, okay, alam niyo po, you are realizing the marches are beginning. It started with 1 million people march, the EDSA yesterday, every day. On September 11, next Monday, it's again being organized more and more. Now media is joining. There's media that's propagating the collection of the people into the streets again. Our problem is, what are we marching for? Sure, let's get rid of the pork barrel. Pero what is the alternative? Like America, like Obama, I don't like war. Russia, you take Assad out, you're going to replace him with another monster, if not worse. Look what they did to Egypt. At least sila, people power nila lasted 1 year. I don't like Morsi, take him out. Tayo, 26 years later, we're still, oh no, people power
Well,
ulit.
I have a different take on what's happening in Syria, not different from what you were saying. But going back to the Philippines, no?
What can we do? Solutions.
The more
Options at least, options.
there are no options left for the people. No? If you go through the basic system,
So we shouldn't
it's like,
march. We shouldn't march.
It's like, no, of course we should. That's the people acting.
March for what?
Like I said, you're like in a fishbowl looking for solutions inside the fishbowl. You have to get out, no? Or throw the fishbowl out, right? And replace it with something. It is the duty, it is the right of the people to replace
So,
government.
get rid of democracy is what you're saying? Get
I'm
rid
not
of the
saying-
current system?
I'm not saying
What would
that-
you say then?
We have to get rid of all of those people, no?
Everyone sitting in
that
government
are
now.
making government dysfunctional and not serving the interest of the people. It is clear all agencies of government, all
corrupted.
branches
Yes,
of
all,
government are
all.
not functioning for the people. It is
Agreed.
clear.
Agreed.
Then what are the people going to do? Who is in power? The people or they?
Who would we replace it with very quickly?
Like I said, that will emanate from what the program is going to be. No?
No more poor. Simple.
No, that's not a program. That is a wish. There has to be a step that will go to that, right? There has to be steps and that can be delineated, no, and discussed among the people that are going to take on and submit themselves for the leadership of this country.
I even wonder if we can even discuss with each other without screaming at each other and shooting each other.
Yeah, well, you have to get rid of these free marketers from UP and from these universities.
academe to begin.
They are the ones that are destroying the minds of the young.
Kayo, Father. You know, the church is very influential. Huh? We all go to church on Sunday. Believe me, we all sit there and we listen to the sermon for a good 15, 20 minutes. That's academic, as well as the word of the Lord, but it's still academic.
I don't know if, well,
It's a platform of talking to the people.
yes, and in the pulpit, and this is worldwide, countrywide, all Sundays, Wednesdays,
Yes.
Fridays, first Fridays, mostly we churchmen, we preach about God and man, okay? He's there, we are
Yes.
here, and that is the verticalist approach to the faith. Let's praise the Lord, let's thank the Lord, let's clap our hands, let's jump for joy, etc., etc. That is a verticalist thing. And while it is true, that is just one half of the issue. The first half is that between God and man. But the horizontal is between man and man. And that is the social doctrine of the church. We do not preach about the social doctrine of the church. The social doctrine of the church is hinged on the scriptures. And yet it talks of politics, economy, development, academe, lahat.
Opo.
Pero hindi namin pinag-uusapan yun. Because you'll get into trouble.
Talaga may separation.
Whatever. So,
So we leave the competence to those that study it. The problem is those who teach it based on what they've studied and learned are incorrect. That's what you're saying.
That's what I'm
Correct
saying.
that first.
Yeah. No, but also let me also try, if I might say something, Archbishop. What I think Archbishop is saying is, it is very comfortable for the clergy now, no, to go into this vertical.
Love of
Because love of God, let us pray. Love of God,
Which
let
is
us
okay,
pray.
huh?
That
Which
is
is
all
true.
right.
No, but
There's
that's
nothing wrong with
faith.
that.
That's our faith.
But that is not all that is the faith. What Bishop, I think, is saying is the faith is also the relationship of man to man.
Love of man.
Love of man, not just God and man.
Dito tayo nagkakamali. Love of man.
And that, if you notice, Archbishop was painting a cross,
Oh,
right?
nga
Which is Christianity.
If
right?
she's Christianity.
Okay, so this is very important. The understanding and the moral courage that is required of the clergy, no, to intervene in issues that require this relationship to be implemented, the love of man to man, no, the intervention of the clergy, making people understand that this is what is required. This means our Christian religion. That is what is lacking.
alam niyo
The
po,
comfort zone of the clergy is just that
Just
vertical thing.
Yes, Father. Very quickly.
Correct ba yun, Fad?
correct. Pag nakita ko yung aking kalahi o kababayan o kapwa ay niloloko, dinaraya, ninanakawan, sinasalbahe, pinapatay, at wala akong kibo, that is not loving neighbor, please. Pag nakita ko yung aking kapwa, ay yan doon, basura ang hanap buhay, hindi malang kung saan kukuha ng pagkain, ang bahay ay nasa kanal, at wala akong kibo. Love of neighbor ba yan?
So man has failed man, basically. Especially the Filipino has failed his fellow Filipino. That's why we're there. Gentlemen, we are at the top of the hour and we're already over time. So a quick one-sentence exit message. We'll start with you, Butch.
Well,
Very, very short.
I'd like to say that the world right now, including the Philippines, is at the verge of a thermonuclear war, global thermonuclear war. This thing on Syria, no, is being created, and if an attack on Syria is made, Russia has already said they will attack Saudi Arabia. No? And this means you attack our client state, and we will attack your client state. It is very, very close now to an attack between Russia and the U.S. And China, who is an ally of Russia, will be part of this, right? And where is China now? Is on our side of the world, wherein this president unconstitutionally had allowed the occupation of our waters, and our physical assets, for their warships, which are with all nuclear arms pointed towards China. This is the situation that is now prevailing. And that little Syria war, which seems to be a world away from us, is actually very near in terms of global events. Now, our role here in the Philippines, or the leadership role, must see to it that we are saved from this major conflict. What are the preparations being taken to save the Filipino people and nation in case of this conflict, instead of pushing ourselves into
the war.
harm's way?
Father, one short message. We're really way over past.
Thank you, Mrs. Napoles. You have started it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, maraming salamat po. I apologize for the GMN management because we've gone over our time slot. So stay, it's channel 213 on Sky Cable, and if you can't pick it up, tell your friends who want to pick it up, unplug the digibox and replug it again, and you will begin to get the channel 213. Stay with us in GNN. We have much more for you right here on this station. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. You are what you watch.